What up, peeps? It's your girl Dash. Come back to Frontal Takes. Well, you guys, it's that time again. It is TV review time. This, of course, is for Black Lightning, Season 3. This is Episode 2 of the Book of Occupation, Chapter 2, Maryam's Tasbih. Now, let me tell you, this was a good episode. A lot is going on. I can see already out the gate we have a lot going on this season. I'm here for it. I'm loving what I'm seeing. I'm loving that we're getting a lot of different storyline and a lot of depth. So you know what, let's go ahead and just jump into it. Now, at the beginning of the episode, of course, you know, you see the scene of the girl you saw in the first episode. Her name is Maryam. She, of course, is dealing with a situation where she looks like her condition is worsening in regards to, maybe of her course, in regards to her powers. She, of course, is definitely looking sick. You see a scene where she throws up. You see another scene where her hair is starting to fall out, and then you see a part where she's kind of talking, and you see what looks like her to be her eyes are bleeding. Just so sad. And I'm just curious as to what is really going on with this young girl, you know. So of course, throughout the whole episode, you know, we hope to see and get a little bit of understanding what's really happening, and of course I would, you know, get to abreast to discussing that. So for moving from that, you, of course, next see a scene where you see Lala. He's in the hotel. You did see that at the end because, like I said, Lala's back. And it shows him with the briefcase. He has, of course, you know, a gun. And clearly he's wanting to know what this is. Of course, he has some of the guys there. They're like, what is this, whatever, and all. And this is, you know, he says this briefcase, of course, it actually belongs to Tobias. And they're like, you know, I don't know what Tobias is, but he says, if I have this, I have a feeling I will, you know, eventually see him, and when I do, I'll be ready. So, of course, unfinished business. You already know ever since season 1 what Lala's been dealing with. I feel so bad for him because it just seems like he just constantly can't catch a break. So I'm hoping this season that tide will turn for him. He'll get some little bit of retribution with Tobias, but we don't know in what way, in what sense, whichever, because of course we know Tobias is, of course, in the pit. He can't go anywhere. He's kind of slowly deteriorating. He's getting sick. You know, everything is kind of finally catching up to him, rightfully so. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how that whole situation is going to actually turn out. But moving from that, the next thing you do see is the one where it shows Henderson having another press conference. And with this one, he has a kind of note in regards to all the different changes going on with the curfews, dealing with the ASA being involved, whichever. They are not to do any media. And as he quoted, and I want to note it because I had to just do my little notations here and there, just going to throw that out. He says it just like this, all media is to be cleared through ASA. No media is to go out. So they can't, you know, say anything, discuss it. They can talk, you know, whichever in here, but they're not to go into any other detail. So that's going to be very interesting. You do see, of course, some of the media, you know, people, reporters kind of sitting there and just kind of looking like, okay, you know, this is our job. What are we supposed to do? All they can do is basically, you know, you got to keep it to yourselves. And that's going to be very interesting because that means certain individuals are going to have to go out of their way to find a way to kind of, you know, get the information out so people can be abreast. It's kind of hard. You're having these news conferences, whatever, but it's on their terms. But I'm not surprised by that. Look who's running that, and that's Odell. So I wasn't expecting anything less from that. So you do see the next thing in regards to a scene of I want to say with Odell, and he of course sees what looks like to be a video of a person who goes by the name of Truth Teller, and he's kind of talking about some of the stuff that Henderson said, which is some crap, whatever, and he's talking about stuff in regards to ASA, and then you all of a sudden hear another voice, which actually is Khalil's mom, and that was not what I was expecting here, and clearly it's just like the worst thing, because if I bet anything, I know Odell definitely remembers her from the funeral, whichever. He probably was scoping her out anyway, and then he probably is aware of probably how she sounds. So that's kind of like the worst thing that could have possibly happened, you know, them not masking her voice. You know, you can clearly not see their faces or anything, but you know that voice. So that was kind of, I was bummed by that because that puts her, you know, in some way of harm's way. But then, of course, he gets an encrypted message, and it's from Langley, and it says, you know, let me know, it says Markovians are mobilizing with a large-scale invasion. So he, of course, you know, definitely kind of, you know, puts out that he needs to, you know, meet up with Commander Carson Williams so they can start addressing this situation, this urgent matter. So from there, you see a scene where it looks like Jefferson and Lynn, they're just having like a regular discussion, excuse me, eyes itching, and just him wanting to know every time he sees her, she's working on some stuff, like some data of sorts. And he's like, you know, Dale's definitely has you doing all this stuff and whatever. And this is a part of her job. She's used to doing these things. And in some ways, Lynn wants to feel like she has to work so closely in these quarters and deal with Odell. She wants to be doing something where she can feel like she's benefiting, any of these kids, these ones who are metas, whichever, definitely, of course, before when she was dealing with the pod kids. And of course, he doesn't see it that way, whichever, and kind of feels like Odell might be kind of trying to get a hold on her and using the data as a way, as a crutch of sorts, whichever. But, with Lynn, she's like, she kind of, gets kind of upset. He's not really seeing, the overall picture, whichever, and in some ways, the trust factor of what she's doing, whichever. He's just, he's not feeling it at all. So it does show a scene where they're still in a heated discussion, but then, of course, Commander, Carson Williams shows up, whichever. And, of course, you see the scene of him, talking to them, whichever, explaining something to them, just let them know they don't know anything. And, of course, Jefferson's like, you just want to say that. He's like, I don't know. And, of course, he gets in his face, whichever. You see it in the trailer, him saying, it looks like, some of your words kind of like a thinly veil, like, you're cussing or whatever. I mean, just antagonizing, whatever. No, nothing does happen, but it's just some choice words. And, of course, Lynn kind of like lets him know, hold up. And they're just like, I want to know what's going on with our kids. We want to see our children. They're like, we can't do that. Maybe we can send a video. Because if they do any type of communication outside with their, particular device, it's a way for, somebody else to catch it. Being, honestly, the Macrobians, they don't want them to have any way of knowing whatever, some sort of, intel through their phone waves or whatever. So I wasn't surprised by that. So then he basically takes them, and I'll note up there, a little bit, in regards to some video right there in regards to him walking them to some place. And it looks like they're, of course, going to get an upgrade. Of course, the place they're in right now, the space they have inside, I think, the pit, is a little bit tighter. Now, this space, he shows them, he takes them to the room, outside the room, and he has them do this little red laser thing, kind of checking them, make sure, everything's fine, whatever. And then they open the door, and you see all this extra space. Got a kitchen, it's got a space for her to do her work. They have, a wider, more space where they have a bed. So they have a little bit more nicer quarters now. And he basically just says, this is your new space, it'll have your wine, it'll have your favorite foods, and then, of course, just telling Lynn, thank you for doing the data. We have, recently sent some, green light babies and some pod kids that have died, whatever, and all. We need all the help we can get from you. And, and he just, that was his part with her. And, of course, he turns to Jefferson. It's like, he's like, you have free reign. He's like, don't get lost, So he just looks at him like, he's going to try to scope it out a little bit. There's no way Jefferson can help that, and I don't blame him. It's like you've been in there for over 31 days before he had his emancipation, and now you just think he's just going to sit in the room and not do anything unless they want him to do something, in regards to his powers. He's going to kind of mosey around and observe and, be nosy. I don't blame him. I'd be nosy too. It's like, what else can you do? And he's going to be, because who else is in there. We know that Tobias is in there. We already know from the last episode, clearly Lynn already told him what happened with Issa. So he's going to try to get to the bottom of something, and it's good. It's like he needs to, and trust me, there's a lot going on. So from there, you see the scene, excuse me, where you see some Markovians, they're picking up some of their men. They're being transported to some sort of location. And this is where we get to finally meet the big bad. Now, I thought we might meet them a couple episodes later, but at the pace that these 2 episodes are going, it looks like it's just steady. It's nothing where it's up and down, whatever. We're just going full throttle, and I'm here for it. So you see a scene of a gentleman looking, of course, in the mirror, whatever, and he comes downstairs, and you see the guys, position, like there's some sort of military stance of sorts, whichever. He starts talking to him. He introduces himself. He is Colonel Yuri Mosin, and he just talks to the guys, and I'm just going to put it, just to make a long story short, he says this statement, he makes a statement, I had to note it, we will return home covered in glory and American blood. So basically they are there for a mission. They have come on American soil all out to do what they need to do in regards to this invasion in dealing in regards to the metas. So it looks like we finally are going to see what's really going to happen. Of course, as the episodes go by, it looks like it's definitely going to be a showdown of some sort. So I'm actually here to see what he's going to bring to the table, and I'm hoping it's good. I said in the last episode, bring it. I'm hoping the build up from last season, now going to this season, we'll get that. So moving from that, then you see Henderson kind of, speaking, to his, officers, whatever. They're just having a regular, powwow of certain things they're going to try to do to continue doing their actual jobs. And I feel like they're being completely forced to just do everything all by the orders of ASA. And of course, Commander Carson Williams, of course, shows up unannounced. And he lets him know he's here for martial law. He's there to see if there's a particular detective, King. And of course, this detective stands up as a female, and he's like, get her. And of course, he was like, what? For what? And he, of course, just says blatantly out, for doing green light and might possibly be a meta. And he just kind of chuckles. Henderson, he looks and he's like, King, like, is this true? She's dumbfounded. She doesn't look like she looks like she's guilty. She just looks like, what is happening? Her face looks like a deer in headlights. So you're kind of left up to not know if what he was saying is true or he just needs someone. Now, I can believe the green light part, but I'm like, a possible meta. You don't even know if she's a meta. You weren't scoping her out enough to know that for sure, but it is what it is. It just adds another layer to this part of it in regards to whoever else who could be on the police force that actually might have some sort of power. So that is the case in this one. So yeah, I want to see how that part might kind of go along with Henderson's storyline. So that was very interesting to me. I didn't know how to take that, but I said that's the only possible way I could feel about that. So moving from that, excuse me, you guys, it shows, of course, Blackbird speaking to the new crop that she brought over through the portal. And they're just talking, whichever. And she's trying to set up some instructions, let them know. Of course, you hear a voice in the background who's saying Blackbird. Come to find out, we actually get reintroduced some characters from season 2. One named Naya, and the father who was named Terry. Come to find out, this is the one of the episodes that had to do with the Sanjay and Purdy. If you all remember that particular episode, those were actually pretty good. The girl, of course, ends up going to kind of like a little, medical facility where Anissa, of course, is there, and she comes across her, she's pregnant, whichever, distressed a little bit with her boyfriend and all that. Come to find out, the Sanjay and Purdy deal with a situation where the Sanjay have certain powers, whichever, with their leader, and she's basically frolicked with this boy, her black girl, white boy, whatever and all. They don't, of course, mix, taking a little bit from the circa years, of, certain, color stains, to their side, whichever. And let's just say that Anissa, and of course Jefferson were very helpful in trying to save them. Certain people did get hurt. Just want to give you a little backdrop on that. If you all had not seen those episodes in season 2, you really need to watch that. So you see the scene where she's kind of, frustrated, whatever, we have these soldiers out here, these people out here trying to get to, our area, whichever, and all that. We don't feel that protected. And now you're, bringing this new crop this so soon. She's like, what's the problem, whatever, and all that, what's going on? And she's just like, wanting to know what's happening, because she's like, you did all these other stuff, there's some period that did get killed, also with my mother. And she's like, well, I helped you, your people, and also helped you with your baby. She's like, yeah, my babies don't really need to be going through this again. The look on her face when she looked at her father, she was like, well, you know what, I made that deal with your dad. So back to what I was saying, and walked away. And of course, girlfriend sitting with her mouth poked out, whichever. I'm going to get into some stuff about that particular Anaya a little bit later on, about actual rant at the end, whatever, because I have some choice words about that. So of course, she says what she needs to say, it goes back to the people, letting them know what they need to do so they can move on with her, because I'm assuming she's trying to transport them somewhere else. This is just kind of like the moment they're at this location for the moment, until she kind of figures out the next coordinates of what they need to be doing, whichever, and that's fine. So moving from that, you do see the scene of Jennifer, looking at some, photos of her and Khalil reminiscent, whichever. She's in the house, the Pierce house, and of course she has an unannounced guest, and of course it's Odell lurking in the back, creepy. Bill Duke straight, I love him, but he's very creepy the way they play him sometimes. And he kind of talks to her, asking her, what happened, with the surveillance. She's like, did something happen? She's like, yeah, I dealt with it. There's no more surveillance, whatever. And she's like, I didn't like that. I didn't like you watching me, whatever. It was creepy. And he's like, what about your sister? Well, she's upstairs showering. You want to watch her too? And you can clearly tell he felt all uncomfortable, so he just left it alone, which is a good thing. That was really, the way she did it was very nonchalant. I love that, because he couldn't see if she was lying or not, whatever, and all that. Once you threw out there, you're watching us. She's some 16-year-old, 17-year-old little girl. Why are you watching me? You're like ill. So, but then he tells her his reason for being there, which was because he brought the phone with a recorded video message from her parents, whichever. And he's like, and I wanted to note this really, I'm sorry. He makes a comment when he tells her that, if you ever need anything, you can reach out to me. We're on the same side. I'm going to note that why I think that's some crap, and I know it's some crap. Anybody listening to him saying that in an episode is some crap. We'll get into that. I have a full-out rant about some things from this entire episode. So moving from that part, then you see the scene of Lala, of course, talking to the guys that are trying to understand, he goes and shows up and he sees some of the guys, I think it's this guy named Raquel, who was one of the ones who got his butt whooped by her when she went to get some money and use that money to help, the pastor. from the church, and he's just like, what's going on? He's like, you all need to be doing a little bit better. The one just say, well, do what, whatever. And of course, Tobias not around. He wasn't around. He's like, what about selling the product, whatever, and all these people need us, whatever. But of course, with the curfew, ASA being around, it's kind of hard. He's like, there's ways we can get some stuff done, whatever. So of course, it kind of just shows him there. And of course, you see, him speaking to them about it, whatever. So he kind of has some, thoughts on how he's going to kind of go about that. So from there, you see, of course, the next scene where it shows, the people getting food, and, Anissa's trying to keep them moving, aka Blackbird, whatever. And of course, you see Terry trying to talk Naya down, like she's kind of getting a little frustrated and flustered, whatever. She said, she's like, what now? It's like, I'm just trying to do this, whatever, and all, what do you all need, whatever. And she's just like, I don't know how we can deal with this, whichever. We have all this stuff going on, whatever, and all that. And we're dealing with certain situations here, with the farm, whatever. And then we're dealing with these people taking all the food. And she's like, I gave you the money. We had a deal, we're doing this, whichever, this was all planned out, whatever. And she's like, no, she's trying to help her people, whatever, and all that. And she's just like, And then you kind of see a scene, which I'm going to kind of really post up here, where she's just, making out flat out, conversation, and statements about her, just being a guest here, whatever. And she's like, well, no, you're not going to renege on your deal, whatever. And he's like, are you threatening me? She's like, yeah. She picks him up, and then she throws him down, whatever. And of course, one of the guys get it upon themselves to put that gun near her face, and that's when she has to basically let him know about himself, and did, thoroughly. And she's like, of course, she flips him over, whatever. And she's like, you had to, yank him like that. You could have, messed, hurt him, hurt his back, whatever. It's like, he could have been dead a long time ago. And she's just like, you almost as worse as son. And she's like, don't test me, because then you'll find out, And, it is what it is. Like I said, I'm going to get into that towards the end. So from there, you see Henderson, of course, he shows up, getting ready to park into his parking space. And you see the scene of him, was like, he let the guy know, I love me some Henderson. He's just like, what do you want? And of course, you do see a scene where, of course, it shows Gamby kind of lean down. First, it's not Gamby, it's the officer, but then he does a cloaking device, and it's actually him. And he's like, get in the car or whatever. And he's talking to him about getting him to help Anissa. He not realizing what they're doing really outside of that. And I said this before in the last episode, I'm hoping that Gamby gets with Henderson so he can figure out what he need to do, but it's mostly Gamby needing his help at the moment. He needs to get and infiltrate the location of where Carson has, the police officers, the actual officers for ASA, whichever. He needs one of their comm drives, whatever, to basically help in, infiltrating a perimeter, whichever, so he can help get Anissa back over here without being detected, because if she's caught, whatever, no, she's going to be turned in or whatever. So at first he's afraid, he's hesitant to do it. He's making little statements or whichever, he's trying to help her. He loves her dearly, whichever, I got a wife to think. He's like, and he, of course, Gammy makes little comments to him about, forget that, whatever, and all that. And he's just like, do you not understand what's going on? He's like, do you not think I don't realize this? Like, it's other people's lives as as well as his wife and other people. And he's like, what? And Gammy just stated straight out. He's like, hard times, hard decisions. He's like, Anissa needs you. You're the only one that can honestly help her. And you see the conflict, but in the end, as much as it's bothering him, he knows he has to do it. He wouldn't be able to forgive himself if he knows there's certain ways he could help her, even though he doesn't care to deal with, Commander Williams and his little, men. So you see the scene, of course, where it shows, Maryam, is in the room with Lynn, and she thinks she's dying, and it's just so sad. I feel so bad for that girl. She just looked like she's really going through it. When you look at her overall face, it just looked like she's just like been literally broken down, probably in regards to her powers anyway. So, and when she's talking to Lynn, she makes a comment to me, I think I'm dying, and of course Lynn comes on, and she's like, telling, she said, no, you lost all your hair, of course they show her, poor thing, her nails, missing some of her nails on her hand, and just talking about how her eyes, she asked her anything else, like her eyes are bleeding, and basically it just says, she said, your body truly was not meant to have the type of powers that a meta actually would have, and it's probably what it is. It's probably rejecting her body now. At first, who knows, it might have been fine, but now it's getting used to her and it's overpowering because there's so much that her powers can truly do. And that's the thing. It's just so unfortunate because it's not like something she probably truly honestly wanted, ever expected to happen to her. And now she's kind of having to deal with, can this, situation with her having these powers, this condition, whatever she's going through, can this be fixed? And just such a sad thing. I just truly feel so bad for her. So from there, you see the scene where, of course, Gammy's in there. He's back to the other cloaked, individual, bringing, of course, Henderson in there, whatever. He's being used as a decoy, so he could kind of maneuver in the back of the room to get to the back to get what he needs to get. And it shows him, of course, Henderson going in there, and he's using the situation of what happened to Detective King as his reason for being there. Like, I want her back. He's like, she's, being, detailed, whatever. He's like, you took her to that facility, she's in there, whatever. No, he's just going off of him, whatever. He's like, you need to, calm down, you need to back up, whatever. He's like, no, I don't need to do anything, you need this. So they're going back and forth all the while. Gamby's working his way to the back. He gets one of the comm drives out, and he takes it to the back, locks the door, whatever. Now, does his uncloaking from his face and starts to detect and take the information he needs to take, and do what he needs to do so he can figure out whatever he needs to pinpoint for locations to help Anissa get back on her side. So I love that scene, whichever, because I was like, how is he going to get in there and play that? So there'll be all about him and him raising a voice, acting out, getting closer to men, and the men coming closer to him. Nobody suspected that anything was going on. Totally aloof, which was cool. So that, I like that scene. So from there, you see the scene, of course, Lala comes and he sees some of the guys, dealing with some truck, whatever, taking some food out, whatever, helping some people. And he's like, what's going on? He's like, y'all working, y'all taking food, you taking food for some scraps. And like, what's this? What's going on here? This is what we shouldn't be about, whatever. No, he's just disgusted with what's happened to the 100, whatever. It's just a total mess. So of course, he turns around, he sees the guy who must be the new guy in charge, whatever, and some big, kind of like an Escalade, gold rims, whatever, and all that, come out the car looking just like straight punk, like with his little God knows what, whatever. And he's like, oh, you owe me money. He's like, I'm going to take back what's mine. And of course, he just shoots him right there and all, la down, a good 4 or 5 shots, whatever. And he's like, y'all think I was going to let him just keep talking like that to me? Shoots him in his head. And then he's like, no, get that out of here. Get that taken care of, whatever. All of a sudden, you see the face. He's like, oh my God, whatever. You can hear a little bit of what's happening. Clearly, some of the bullets were coming out. And then from there, he stands up. The guy's literally damn near perplexed. And it shows him, turn. Of course, Lala getting his little thing, because he kind of does all this little extra stuff that he does with his body, whatever, and all that kind of, And then you see the little hole in the front, whatever, and all of a sudden the thing pops out onto the floor. By then, when he starts slowly walking to the guy literally punks out. There's another choice words I can say, but I'm keeping it clean. And he runs off like a little coward. And it just shows the guy's kind of looking, he's kind of, straight and all that. And they do the little salute, with the fist up to the chest or whatever and all that, letting know Lala is now back. He in charge. He's literally untouchable. They could try to kill him. You clearly saw he got up. Bullets fell out. He's indestructible, literally. So that was a nice little scene right there. Like, nobody could do anything to hurt him anymore, honestly, right now. We'll see what hold Tobias down the road might still have of his cards up his sleeve, whatever, to kind of have one up on him. But I seriously doubt it right now, because he's not taking in his serum to kind of, so that's just my thought on that. So from there, you see the scene where it shows Anaya, Terry, and Nessa talking about the plan, whatever, and all that. And he's like, do we need to? He's like, no, you're going to follow the plan that you were going to do. We're going to keep it the way it was supposed to go, whichever, in regards to the stuff that they're doing to help them with the farm, whichever, and all that. And Anaya's like, we're leaving at this time, whatever, and all, because they're starting to not feel safe, whatever. But then they see, Terry notices and points to one of the metas who starts kind of, doing some certain things with, the plants. They have like the fruit and the flowers, whatever. And of course, here goes Anaya. Maybe we can work something out. She said, but, I'm never going to trust you again. She's like, I don't care what you do, but you better keep your word. And they kind of, she turns around, she walks away, whatever. And by then, Gamby reaches to Anissa and lets her know that, they have a little situation where there are some of the Markovian men kind of close in the perimeter of the outer ends of Freeland, whatever, which is where kind of, like I said, the Purdy and Sanjay were, which is exactly where they are. And she's like, where's the location? Let me send you like the coordinates. Of course, she's waiting. He kind of gives her, instructions on when to come out from around a tree. You do see the scene. I'll post it up. And it just kind of shows her going to town, per usual, on the men around the perimeter. And of course, eventually, after a couple seconds or so, whatever, you see it from the scene of her whooping some tail, multiple tails. At that, you see, of course, the colonel from the Markovians, like, what the hell, coming up, whatever. And you see, of course, after she's kind of finished, kicking all that butt, it shows him, kind of seeing, you hear like little beeps or whatever, it must be from whatever, signals, whatever they use, whatever, to talk to him, whatever, to keep them in the loop, whatever, and keep him in the loop, whatever is out, whatever. But then you see him make a comment saying, okay, we've had first contact with a metahuman. He's like, initiate phase 2. So I'm curious to know what this phase 2 is about, y'all. It's look like it's getting ready to get really serious now. So love that. So from there, you see, of course, Lynn gives a test to Marion and Jefferson. They kind of do some sort of, I don't know what they call it. It was like some sort of, like building test of something. And you finally get to see a scene. I'm going to post it up here, of course, of Marion using some of her powers, which was really nice. It was totally different, her changing to anything that was being built up, whatever, from that screen, whatever. She was just like a camouflage of sorts. That's kind of how I saw it. And it was very unique and very interesting watching, how her powers worked. I was so intrigued with that. But you can see it was taking a toll. She kept telling her, okay, keep going, keep going, keep building, whichever. And before, it was just too much for her to build. And of course, Marion fell down to the ground, whatever. And of course, they have a kind of like a little shield off, so they both can't see each other, whatever, to keep them from each other, whichever. And of course, Jefferson feels bad. Is she okay? And of course, Lynn doesn't know. She's like, I'm not sure, whichever. So of course, they stop the test from there. So you see from there, of course, that part, you see, of course, the girl who was introduced in the first episode, Jamila Olsen. She was the reporter where she was asking questions with Anissa, but then, of course, they hooked up. Of course, you're not supposed to be doing any media, supposed to go out or go in or whatever, but of course, she's holding on fair to her, Second Amendment right, and she's, of course, videoing probably from her phone or whatever, talking about, the resistance kind of rising up a little bit, where's our heroes, of course, we don't know where Thunder and Black Lightning is, whichever. We have this one right here who's kind of rogue in some ways, like Blackbird, whichever, and they just don't understand what's going on. ASA's, dealing with some stuff. Markovians have, messed with one of the locations, whatever, and some people got killed in that was part of the press conference that Henderson gave earlier, in my, just discussion with that. So yeah, I'd like that she was able to get something out and do that, whichever, but it's going to be interesting because I wonder how much longer she's going to last, whatever, and because she gets caught, she has to be careful because they're kind of clamping down. So from there, you see, this is the scene we're going to get. We finally see Khalil. And this is where I literally was excited because I figured they were going to show him, because when you see at the beginning of the episode, when they do the flashback, they show a scene, of course, of Khalil's mother crying at the funeral. And of course, it shows, Jennifer standing over his casket. I should have known he would show up in this one. And this was when you see him. He basically, of course, is sitting there looking all serious, of course, aka painkiller, because that's what they call him. Of course, you hear the the voice in the background asking, is a brain chip okay? Added. He's like, yes. Spinal implant, added back. Is it good? Yes. Pre-installed software, good. Going down the line of being human anatomy, small arms, marksman, classical education. Of course, Odell heightens, his education to a master's degree level, just totally out. Then he asks him a question. What is he? He's a, biological weapon system. And then from there, you see the scene where they ask him, of course, what's your prime directive? And they basically put it on the screen. You see, of course, his mother. So basically, he's being giving orders to basically kill his mother. Look how far we've come with Khalil, just like unreal. And when he does that, whatever, of course, you see the scene where, of course, doesn't see the look on Commander Williams' face, whatever, like, what the heck, I don't know if, he doesn't look very confident and assured in regards to that being his first task straight out with this new brain chip they put in. So it shows him discussing that, this whole situation of that, it has not been tested. What if he has a reversal mind swipe if something triggers whatever. So Odell's like, okay, well, if he does it, he goes over this. He said, this is how we know this will work. And if it does, his whole point of this is to know that this can be used on a human or a metahuman alike. And that's exactly how he phrased it. So that's probably one of his main things he's trying to get out of this whole thing, and one of his probably main agendas, maybe throughout this whole season. So now we're getting down to the meat of what Odell's up to. So just kind of put that out there. We'll get into that a little bit later. I'm going to discuss that because I got stuff to say. So then you see Jefferson, visits, Maryam. And of course, even though he acts like he's a little concerned, it was basically to flush out some information. We're asking her, if there's any other meadows in here. Has she seen, a tall 6-foot, albino? And then giving her some choice words that they whatever. It was just I did not like that scene because it was just like she's a young girl and just like she has to be careful. Even though he used his little powers, whatever. And it's like if they would even consider that, there would be a problem. So it was just, oh my God, it was just really, really bad. Because when I say it like that, there's a scene where Lynn is confronted by Odell. He comes to see her and he says he sees some type of energy flux or whatever. And she's like, well, she kind of shrugs off like, yeah, that could be, anything. That's not anything major. He's like, well, I find it really funny because there's an energy flux happening as I speak with you right now. Come to find out Jefferson's above. Looks like inside the room that they share, whatever, and he could see that, whatever, and he's leaning over, and he can hear them, of course, when he all of a sudden his, of course, you remember his powers more heightened now. He doesn't have the suit like he said in the episode 1, and now he can see through the floor, through the walls, whatever. So, and Odell, of course, clearly does not know that part. So, you know, you can see Lynn kind of feeling a little uncomfortable and ease or whichever. So that's why you see the scene of them with that, and that was a really interesting scene right there. So from there you see the part where Lynn and Jefferson are just having a discussion, all that. He says, I want to go visit her. He's like, oh great, you went to see her or whatever. He's like, well, it looks like, you know, ASA is having little issues, you know, inner conflict with her. She's like, so you went to basically gouge her for information? She's like, you know, you could put her in danger, you can put all of us in danger. He's like, well, I use my little, you know, device. She's like, it doesn't matter, they know you're using your powers and they can see your energy fluxes, whichever. So he's just, you know, kind of frustrated. He's like, you know, wow, Dale, he's really got you to his thumb with this. She's like, it has nothing to do with. She's like, I'm well aware of Odell, you know. She's like, you know, please, it's like, you know, you're doing this other stuff or whatever, you just make it all about you and your agenda, whatever, not realizing, you know, you're making more out of everything, whichever, which I seriously doubt, clearly from what, you know, I'm kind of just discussing right now, whichever. Oh my goodness, you know, I'm hating them fighting, but it's just like the frustration of it all. And in the end, you know, him accusing her of this and whatever, and she's just like, you know, to the point where she gets ready to go to bed and she's just like lights out. She's over it. She don't have anything else to say. And she does make one more comment. She's just like, I really wish you would trust me. You know, he's just sitting there and all that. And I can tell it kind of hurts him. He doesn't want to have an argument with her. But she's right. You know, in that instance, it's like, you don't really trust her. It's like every time certain things happen, whatever, this is how you're acting and behaving, whichever. We're here. You know, he's utilizing you. He's using her. What do you expect to do? We want them not to touch our kids. So this is what it comes to. You just want her to sit there. She has no choice. So it's just a mess with those two, with these discussions. Just like, my Lord. So, of course, from there, you see Khalil shows up. And his mother's so excited to see him. She's so happy, you know, to see him. But not realizing he does not know who she is. She's like, you know, how you don't recognize me? Whichever. And, of course, he's walking to her slowly. He's like, you know, you don't recognize her. As soon as she says, recognize your own mother, he grabs her by her neck, lifts her up, and he snaps her neck. All the while just kind of giving off some sort of, you know, chemical toxin in her neck and her face. So when he snaps her neck and he just drops her, he just walks out like nonchalant, like, you know, nothing, you know, easy breezy. And it shows her on the ground. Just, oh my God. I'm going to get into that at the end. So from there, the last and final scene in the episode, you see, of course, Jennifer's coming up and she's hearing some, like, you know, noise and commotion. Come to find out, you know, some guys who were probably like one of the sports teams, whatever, are kind of like fighting, whatever and all. She's like, stop, you know, what are y'all doing, whatever and all, acting like animals, that's what you want, whatever and all that. And he's like, you know, one of the guys, of course, come out his mouth and says this expletive to her, whatever. She's like, you know what? She's like, no, y'all, the you know what. She said, but you don't want none of this because this right here you couldn't handle, whatever. And he's like, yeah, bet, whatever. So she tries to, you know, just leave, whatever. And he's like, where you going? Takes her purse. And, of course, I will post it up here if I already have. And it shows them trying to comfort her, whatever, and all that. And I'm going to tell you like this. They got the, I'm sorry, ass whooping they just so rightfully deserve. You know, I did not feel not 1 ounce. I'm sorry, especially the one that actually called her out her name. He deserved exactly what he got and then some. And it was beautiful to watch. I literally clapped. Like, yes, you deserve your butt whooped. And to walk down the halls knowing it was whooped by her, yes, it's going to be nice. Yeah, and they'll probably remind him. Someone more videoing it too anyway. And at the end when they were all, you know, happy for her, she's like, stop. And then she says this, and I wanted to know exactly because I wanted to see. She was just like screaming, stop. She's like, I guess we can't, you know, hold on to anything, huh? She's like, you know, everything is just different now, huh? And she's like, so am I. And she just darts out with her purse. And that's basically how it ended. Now, I'm going to tell you, like I said, this whole entire episode, it was really good. A lot was going on. I was glad we did get to see who's in charge of the Maccabees because I was wondering who is it going to be. I'm really still trying to see how they're going to be as effective as a threat dealing with the ASA. I want to see what they're coming, you know, to the forefront. I don't know if any of these guys have certain tactical, whatever, if they have any powers. I'm just wanting to know exactly. Also, one of the ones I wish we get to see again is the one that's kind of similar to like the Nightcrawler. You know, he was only in a few episodes. If it was only, 2, if I'm not mistaken. The potential being that he brought them Dr. Jace. I want to know where she's at too. So I'm just glad that we finally do have a face to go with the overall picture of the McCormick's instead of just having a couple of guys here, you know, causing, you know, some havoc, whatever. We have somebody who's in charge And now we're going to see exactly what they're going to bring, like I said, to the table with this whole Markovan that was built up from season 2. Now, also in regards to situation with Lynn and Jefferson, it's just unfortunate. I hate when they're fighting, but they got to give a little bit of dynamic, whatever, and all that push and pull, where, Jefferson always seems like she said, wants to be in control of the situation, always thinking he knows anything, and not always listening to good advice, whatever, or certain things that come from a secondary, like, when he's had situations with Anissa, some good advice, whatever, and all that. Same thing with Lynn. It's like she knows what she's doing. You married a smart woman. It's like, give her that benefit of knowing she knows what she's doing with Odell, dealing with him in season 2, knowing he's like, and then now them being in the pet, whatever, and all that. It's like, now that, he's getting her to do that, she's learning certain things. She has an upper hand, and he needs her. So in that end, that works to her favor to kind of stay in the loop so they can have something to utilize, down the road, whatever. I just really wish he would see the bigger picture instead of just being frustrated and mad. He acts like he's in there by himself. She's right there with him to help him. I know that's not the situation you want to be in, but to keep, like they said, their daughter's safe, they went along with it, whichever, to keep them out of it. So, and that's good because at least with Gambi being out there, Anissa and Jennifer are not alone, and that's probably why they definitely had no problem going on them, because they know Gambi will make sure they're okay. They call him Uncle Gambi. He's basically family, so it is what it is. So, I hope they can work past it. Now with Jennifer, I really feel like that little fight scene probably was a turning point truly for her. She's going to start doing some stuff to kind of feel like she can be a little bit more helpful. But like I said, Gambi said patience. But one thing about it, her being at times very hothead and just going out on impulse, we're going to see, hopefully going into the next episode, because I saw the trailer for the next one. It looks like she is in her suit. So I want to see exactly what she's going to be doing, and hopefully she has a little bit of smarts and not doing anything that could cause any danger to her, anyone else, putting herself out there, whichever. So it's just going to be really interesting. Hopefully now that Odell is not able to watch her and she's diffused all, the surveillance, whatever, and all that, he really won't bother, because she really made him feel really bad about scoping her out, being that she's a young girl and all that. So that's probably why she'll be able to get away with it for a while, unless somebody sees them and it kind of pinpoints whatever. I don't think he's ever seen her in a suit to know it's her, so we'll have to see about that part. Now in regards to Anissa, aka Blackbird, the whole situation, I'm glad I can finally get to this, whichever. I would like that we got to see some old familiar faces, from season 2, whatever. But I will say this, and I have a really issue with the father, Terry. My problem was with the girl, Anaya. This whole attitude that she was having, and I know a lot of people were like, oh, Anissa, she was a little rough. No, she was not. I said, when we figure out how this all came to be, if anybody watched those episodes, yes, this girl's out here frolicking, having her fun, got knocked up, and she was messing with the boy she had no business messing with. Of course, of course she's in love. It is what it is, whatever. But then, of course, your parents don't know about it. So, of course, they know that you're pregnant. They don't realize it's pregnant by a Sanjay. These kids have some powers. But, of course, hopefully those are gone. They're okay. Because if you saw the episode, you know clearly what I'm talking about. I don't want to go into too much detail and rant about the episode. But Anissa and Jefferson put their lives on the line to help her people. And in the midst of that, Sanjay was still being controlled by their leader. And your mother got killed by them, not from Anissa. Anissa did not do that. And the fact that she threw it in her face when she was one that's helped her have her babies, bring them into the world, because mom and daddy did not help her bring those twins into this world, then helped her get to a safe place. Her father was still not sure if he wanted to do it, but then of course he came around. She was able to, get him, whichever. So here you are, her getting money, helping you and your father and some whoever's left of the Purdy left to do what they need to do to kind of live wholesome, and then having the space for her to reach out a deal with your father to give you money and all, so you all can keep doing what you need to do, whatever, but still use it as a bypass and location to cut through to do whatever they need to do. And all of a sudden there's an issue. And it's like, if you all made this deal, you're going to honor this deal. You're not going to change anything. And it's not like those people are going to be there forever. And I'm thinking to myself, she has all this mouth all of a sudden, whichever, I don't want my kids, whatever. I'm like, trust me, she doesn't want to put anybody in harm's way. But the fact remains is that you can't do anything, and it's of no help. If it wasn't for Anissa and Jefferson, she would be dead. And I was just like, are you kidding me? And people, might complain about Anissa being a little rough. Nah. That's exactly what she needed. She's like, you doing this, whatever, you could have hurt this. I said, no, he could have been dead a long time ago. Exactly how she said. I did not feel from, especially after that fool had the nerve to put that gun in her face. What did you think? She's supposed to just let him and then have the audacity to say that she was just a guest? She was like, I will tear this whole thing down. I really hope that she did to prove her point. But in the end, it was just cool heads prevail. She probably wouldn't have done that, but you don't get to sit there and do anything, especially if you weren't the one that put the plan together. It's just like that girl, I swear to God, wanted to snatch her by her neck. It's like, sit down somewhere. You doing too much of nothing. So, and then the part where the girl with the powers is causing the roots, what is it, the roots of the plant to grow, whatever, to harvest their fruit or whatever, and all, she's like, oh, maybe we can work something out. I'm gonna never trust you again. Like, really? Trust me. I have a feeling she is gonna trust her, because if anything goes down, whatever, you can't protect yourself. I'm like, clearly. You have 2 babies to worry about, so you would get yourself killed, whatever, they would have no mother. So it's just like, girl, please. I really hope we do see her again, whatever, so that can put that crap to let's shut that little trap up real quick, because she was just cutting up for I don't know what, doing too damn much, honestly. Just straight up annoying me the entire episode. So it was just like, whatever. So from there, I love seeing Henderson and Gamby really getting in the thick of it, in regards to, helping Anissa, and just knowing Henderson is definitely being of help. Seeing Henderson a little bit more, because I know we saw him a little bit here and there towards the last couple episodes within season 2, whichever. So seeing that he's going to be, utilized a little bit more, definitely with the police department, dealing with, the ASA being in their faces, whatever, and all that, and forcing him to do certain things, whatever, and all that. That means he's definitely going to be more visible this season around, which is actually nice. And I'm hoping Gamby's able to help him once he helps Anissa, which he did by being able to get the information he needed to help her. So hopefully we'll see that in the next episode. That was nice. Now Odell, knowing what Odell's doing, clearly a little bit more now that we now have Khalil back, and knowing that he's putting some sort of brain chip in there, because I'm gonna tell you guys, I called it. I said last season when he showed him in that pod, I said if he comes out of that and eventually they see him, he's revealed whatever, is he going to remember any of the people, his loved ones, whichever? And here we are. No, he does not. Now, granted, I don't know if they take the brain chip out. If that's a possibility. Like William said, he could have a mind, reversal swipe of sorts, whatever. It's a possibility. Maybe it could trigger it if he sees Jennifer. I don't know. Certain things could trigger it. Maybe the pains, whatever. You never know. Maybe something happened if they, kiss or whatever. She shocks him. Now, if she shocks him, that definitely will do. You remember the chip that Tobias had in him, so that's a possibility. So I'm just throwing it out because I can foresee that possibly happening. So it's going to be real interesting, because the poor baby, he killed his own mother, has no clue. When it all comes out, and I'm going to tell you, Odell, nothing Carson will be able to do to save you. Adele's going to go down, and I'm going to tell you, because I feel like all of them, it's going to either be Khalil or Jennifer, and if it's not, it's going to probably be both of them tag team to get his butt. He is going to go down for this, because he's going to realize, he's going to probably remember that vision, whatever, something's going to happen, and he's going to see the vision of himself doing that as himself, and it's just going to be just the amount of just anger that's going to go through him. He's going to just go on probably on rampage. I'm just getting a visual of what I think could happen, and it's possibly I could be really close to it. It's going to be just a different way that the writer's going to write this in the actual scene. But yeah, you better hide. And Odell talking about we're all on the same side. When Jennifer knows that you had him in that pod and you're using him as some sort of, as he said, biological weapons system, she's going to come for her, and she's just as powerful as her father. So you can only imagine the damage she would do, and he knows it. That's why he's even going along with the parents, and basically, he doesn't know how powerful she is, and I don't think he wants to know. He would not like the damage she could truly do, and I'm glad that we know it, and only Anissa, Jefferson, and Lynn know, because if anybody else truly knew how extensive her powers are, whatever, they would probably be freaking out. So I'm looking forward to Khalil and Jennifer coming into contact really soon. I hope we don't have to wait too long. Hopefully before the Christmas holiday, we'll see that episode. Please give us that, because I really want to see that. I will say this, the glimmer and the hope of Carson, the commander, feeling a certain way about Odell wanting him to kill his mother. I'm hoping that's a little weakness where he's not happy and down with all these things going on. But I'm going to be honest with you, he can only be so not understanding to a point, because remember now, he is a meta, and he has, like I said, as pointed out in episode 1, he has a special serum that keeps him, on his toes or whichever. And, clearly Odell probably knows about that. So he's going to go along with it. There's nothing else he can do. And I'm going to tell you like this. I don't care what he thinks. That brother does not realize his time is up too. Eventually, he's going to utilize him like he did Issa and whoever else he uses until he doesn't need him more, and he's going to kill somebody, and he's going to kill him. So I hope he doesn't feel like he's, you know, not a part of the bunch. You are still a meta. He knows that you can do certain things. You know, how long do you think you have? So just, it was just a lot going on. It was good. I enjoyed this episode. I'm here for it. I'm curious to see what's going to happen next week. That trailer for next week episode looks beyond epic. You know, it looks like Jefferson's back in his suit. That ending was just, I'm just here for it. So yes, I'm looking forward to episode 3. You guys, if you watched the episode, comment below. Let me know what you all think. What were your favorite parts of episode 2? And with that said, I will see you guys on the next review. You guys take care.